is going on? Welcome back to Around the 412. We are part of the DK Pittsburgh Sports Podcast Network. I am Tyler, and with me as always is Smitty. If I sound a little different, I did get Invisalign last week, so just a little FYI for everybody. But before we move on to the show, I wanted to kind of give a quick plea, if you will. Anybody who listens to our show on Apple, Spotify, iHeartRadio, wherever you listen to it, I would love if you guys would do us a favor and subscribe or follow or whatever it's called on your specific platform that you use to listen to our show. Do that for us on our channel. Search Around the 412 if you don't already, and like the channel, follow the channel, subscribe to the channel, whatever it is. Give us a rating. That would be even better. But most of the guys that listen to the show aren't subscribed to our personal channel. So if you guys can do that for us, that would be awesome. Just wanted to give a little quick shout out to our own main channel before we get going into the show.
Yeah, and also, and this is where I thought you were going with that when you started about talking about a plea, follow us on Twitter and retweet the tweet, because we're trying to give away Steelers tickets. Literally give them away to somebody. When we hit 17,000 followers, we're at 15,300 something right now. So as long as we hit that before the season starts, we're going to give them away. If we were to hit 20,000, guess what? We'll give away a second pair. So make that happen. Head on over to Around the 412 on Twitter. Give us a follow. Retweet that tweet. It is our pinned one right now. If you are watching on YouTube, you'll see that I was holding a bat to start this thing out. And I think that we should start out this episode talking about this guy, Oneil Cruz. This is a game-used autograph bat that I got for $15, by the way. I'm going to assume that by the time that this guy's done playing, I'll go out on a state. I'll make a pretty big statement right now. It's going to be worth more than $15 when his career's set and done. But he comes up to the Pirates finally. It is Oneil Cruz time, and he's done exactly what you expected that he would be doing in these first couple games here. And, you know, it's obviously great to see right now, but also doesn't it make you a little bit upset just thinking about what we could have been watching for the last couple of months too? Like, I don't want to keep harping on this. I know that, like, you know, I was joking around on Twitter, arrest Sherrington and stuff like that. But in a way, it's just like, man, this could have been happening since April. And here we are now in June, at the end of June, and we finally get to see it.
Yeah, I mean, and it is great to see. Don't get me wrong. But I don't know how mad I can really be at it. And maybe that's just myself talking because we knew it was going to happen. We knew this was going to be the expectation because of the Pirates organization, the way they operate. The Super 2 rule means too much to them to get that extra year of service time for them. I just think that I can't really be too upset because it was kind of predicted this way. I was upset initially when it was kind of leaning towards the sign of him going back down to AAA in spring training, because I feel like that is when it kind of set in, like, okay, we're not going to see him till June. They would have had to been probably 5 to 10 different injuries for us to see Oneil Cruz before June, before the Super 2, to get that service time. But yeah, now that he's up here, he's performing just to our expectations. He's got the hardest thrown ball from across the diamond in the major leagues this year. His exit velocity the past 2 games, he had one that was like 111 on Tuesday and one that was like 109 or something on Monday. I mean, it's ridiculous how easy it just comes to him to have this power within him. He looks like it's effortless. And you really saw yesterday how happy he was to be up here. I mean, the video of him just like rounding the bases with a huge smile on his face, trying for 3. I mean, who even cares that he was out? That was just an amazing moment. And I feel like from a majority of the Pirates fan base, you really saw some unity in just a happy moment for Pirates fans finally getting this guy up here. Now, there's always going to be people that criticize the organization no matter what, but I feel like the majority of people yesterday, it was more of a celebration of, okay, this is like the future of the franchise. I mean, we've already gotten that with the Brian Reynolds coming up a few years ago and then Brian Hayes, but like now it's like Oneil Cruz. This guy is like a top prospect in baseball that we've been waiting for. He's finally here and he's producing right away like we thought he was going to do. And it's been really fun to watch these past couple games.
Yeah, I mean, so to your point though about the service time thing though, if this guy, and I think he has enough time to do it, finishes top 2 in NL Rookie of the Year voting, the Pirates lose that anyway. So, you know, they're kind of, I guess, playing their odds by not letting him come up till June, but it's possible that they still get screwed on that year anyway. And I'm saying get screwed, but it's really the player that would be getting screwed by the Pirates by trying to manipulate the service time. But I get it. They did nothing in the CBA to amend this like they should have. This is the way that the Pirates and a lot of other teams, not just the Pirates, are going to operate here and do business. I want to talk about the other guy that came up with Oneil Cruz, though, too. Bligh Madris, 26 years old. Obviously, we have, a personal connection to him. One of the guys that we are closer with, throughout the organization. Drafted by them in 2017, 2018. I reached out to him. He was one of the first few guys that had one of our shirts, along with his roommate at the time, Jared Oliva. Everybody knows how we talk about Jared as well. But I think things really became like very special for us when we went to a game down there. Jared gave us a bat for a charity thing that we were doing, and we ended up going to Permanis with those guys. And not only did we go to Permanis with those guys covered the tab there as well. And I remember a conversation at that point, and I don't want to, this isn't me throwing Bligh under the table and saying he didn't have confidence in himself or anything like that. But there was a point, in a conversation that we were having where he was like, man, I don't know if I'm ever going to get to the major leagues. That's just kind of the way he wasn't a top 30 prospect. He wasn't a prospect at all, and so one of those under the radar guys that every organization every once in a while finds. We thought that we had found it like last year with like a Phillip Evans, right? A guy that was kind of like a little bit of a minor league journeyman, whatever have you. But for Bligh to now be in the majors, man, it just felt really special. Like watching that game yesterday, seeing all those moments, for it to be the first rookie since '96, Jason Kendall with 3 hits, and just literally a historical debut for Bligh. I was texting with him after the game. I was texting with him before the game, and just the conversations that we were having, the moments that he got to have with his family and his girlfriend in attendance as well. And it was just like it couldn't have gone better, literally. Like he couldn't have done anything better. The team obviously gets a blowout win over the Cubs. Like everything about yesterday's game was just so perfect for Bligh on a personal level, but also just like a feel-good moment for the organization because Oneil Cruz being here as well, and just the emphatic win, how they did it. I mean, literally everything about yesterday was just very cool as a Pirates fan. I think that we're going to have a lot more of those moments as this summer goes on.
Yeah, like you said before we started recording, the Pirates are not going to lose a game once again. We're taking the Central. But yeah, it was really surreal to see Bligh come up, especially after the story that you just told. Like he didn't know whether one day he would get to the major leagues, which is awesome to see him come up here. He's the best 66 in I was going to say Steelers history, Pirates history, Penguins history, Pittsburgh sports history, best 66, no doubt.
Oh boy!
Right behind him is Neverauskas.
All those people that you got to subscribe at the beginning are unsubscribing now. 8 minutes in.
Yeah, but it's awesome. Like you said, it could not have worked out any better.
Oh my god! Bligh just homered. Bligh just homered as we're recording this.
Okay, I'm about to watch it live.
Oh my god!
Because you were right ahead of me. Was it okay? So I'm streaming the game. You get it on cable. I have to use MLB TV. This is completely off the wall and breaking the fourth wall. We're recording this Tuesday night during the game, but that is awesome. That just continues to show like what we've been talking about. That is an amazing moment. Or I guess for everybody listening right now, that was an amazing moment to see that. And it just goes to show like everything we've been talking about up to this point. Like, and yeah, we're selfish. This is one of our guys that we've had a connection with for years and wanted to see succeed. And now we finally get to see it, but it's helping the Pirates as well. Obviously he's performing well in his first 2 games, but the same thing with Oneil Cruz, and the same thing with a guy like Jack Suwinski, who is he still currently leading the NL rookies in home runs with 11? I think he is.
Yeah,
they've got a lot of young production,
discombobulated now.
A lot of fun to talk about moving forward.
Yeah, like not even talking about Suwinski's 3-homer game that just happened too on Father's Day. Like what a moment!
That completely just screwed up everything. we were kind of just like on a roll.
I'm gonna have to get that clip too. I mean, that's amazing to just in real time, with you guys. I understand that you guys are gonna be watching and listening to this back, and if you're listening to it back, this is probably making a lot less sense. But yeah, with it's just amazing.
Man, I hate that I'm on MLB TV now watching it.
Oh man, I can't wait to talk to him again.
That's awesome.
But yeah, hey, listen. On that note, we're going to take a quick break. And when we come back, there is a little bit of Steelers news to talk about, a few things, because, how this show typically goes is the day after we record, something is going to happen in Pittsburgh sports that we would absolutely love to talk about. Somebody signed an extension. It's a pretty big one. Now they're the highest paid player at the position in NFL history. So we're going to talk about that and a couple other things when we come back. This is Around the 412 on the DK Pittsburgh Sports Podcast Network. All right, and much like the Pittsburgh Pirates baseball team, we are back on Around the 412, part of the DK Pittsburgh Sports Podcast Network. I'm Smitty. That is Tyler. As promised, we're going to talk about some Steelers football. You're wearing the hat right now. We got a new highest paid safety in NFL history. His name is Minkah Fitzpatrick. Very much deserved. This guy came in, completely transformed the defense in 2019. Basically a team that their defense put them on their back to get to an 8-8 season after Ben Roethlisberger went down. Two-time All-Pro player, very much deserved. Last year basically had to operate as a linebacker. I think he finished in the top 10 in tackles, which shouldn't happen for a player like him. So hopefully he can get back to his ball hawking self this year. But I mean, what do you think about this deal? Now we obviously have the most expensive player at edge in TJ Watt and at safety in Minkah Fitzpatrick, but it's hard to really question either of those being the case. I mean, yes, we have the most expensive defense now, but I think very much deserved. And when you have an offense like what we expect to have with the growing pains, I think that this is kind of necessary.
Hey, the most expensive defense and the least expensive offense.
Mm-hmm.
As
Balance.
Thanos once said, perfectly balanced as all things should be.
Absolutely.
Now, I think this is great. And now we've got the other cornerstone of our defense under contract for the next several years. And it is, like you said, it's so well deserved. Anybody that thinks it's not, I want a really depth explanation as to why. And I understand people are going to say, like, oh, the Steelers should be looking to, like, move on from these players and rebuild and this and such. Like, you just don't understand who the Steelers are if you're saying that. You don't understand what organization you're trying to talk about, because that is just not how they operate. Even if you think they're going to rebuild, believe me, I've said multiple times on the show, they should just suck. They should play bad and try to rebuild for the future. They're not going to do it. They didn't listen to me. They're not going to listen to you. So the contract was coming. The big shock to me is when it came. I thought this was going to be a situation closer to TJ Watt where we're going to get this contract further either into fall camp or into the preseason sometime. I didn't think that we were going to get it like before fall camp even started. So the fact that they got the deal done makes me super happy that we don't have to worry about like what the contract's going to be like, and kind of like we know it was going to happen either way, but we don't have to have the anxious feelings from it throughout the fall camp and everything. I think it's great. Happy it got done. Just surprised at how quickly it got done. But I'm really happy about that.
Yeah, I think that just shows the desire from both, sides to make this happen as quickly as it did, and the willingness to do so. I think that that's really, more so than the money. I think it's just the statement from the Steelers saying, we think that you deserve to be the highest paid safety. And sure, probably by the time that the season kicks off, you're going to see a guy or two making more, because you got Derwin James looking for a new contract, Jesse Bates looking for a new contract. Both those guys might top what Minkah just got. But for the time being, the day that he signs that deal and you make him the highest paid safety, it makes that statement. It's putting that faith in Minkah to continue to do what he's done for this team. And like I said, hopefully getting back to his ball hawking self in 2022. I think a big step in doing that is going to have improved defensive line play. When you add a guy like Larry Ogunjobi, like the Steelers did on a 1-year deal, I think that you're taking a big step forward in doing that. Obviously, after Stephon Tuitt retires, there was a massive gap there along the defensive line. Now, you asked me on this show, and if I thought that they would add somebody else, I didn't think that they would. I absolutely would have. I threw out Larry Ogunjobi's name on that same episode as somebody I would like to see them add, but I didn't think that they were going to do it. I thought they'd stick with what they have in house. I'm absolutely thrilled though with this addition. I mean, this is a guy that the Bears were ready to hand between 40 to 50 million on a 3-year deal, and if he didn't fail a physical, he would have been in Chicago. But that foot obviously in a better shape now. The Steelers would have had to have put him through a physical before signing him. Hopefully the due diligence was done there, and he's here on a 1-year deal now. And obviously huge addition for that defensive line. They were looking for something. I think they found it.
Yeah, his best numbers came last year when he was at the Cincinnati Bengals. So this is a guy that came off a really good year, and for some reason seems to love the AFC North. I can't wait till next year he's on the Baltimore Ravens. But yeah, this is a big need for the Steelers. And you said that it wouldn't come from a signing. I think I said that it needed to, just because they had the cap space. It would make perfect
Yeah.
sense if it did. And so the fact that it's Larry Ogunjobi, I think it's a really good signing. He's going to really shore up that run defense, I hope, because like you said, that would help the secondary a lot and the defense as a whole. My really main question is, and it's not even a serious one, what's Mason Rudolph think of this? I mean, this is a guy that
The whole
pushed him in the back
season.
after he got in the helmet. I asked this question whenever it came to Ogunjobi a couple weeks ago when we talked about him.
Yeah.
What do you make of what do you think Mason Rudolph makes of this? Or does it even matter because he might not even be on the team whenever Ogunjobi shows up?
Well, you look at a guy that, he went on Rich Eisen's show and Jim Rome's show at the beginning of the offseason. At that time, he was QB1 of the depth chart. Now, nobody else was here, but it was, a kind of a situation where he probably felt like he did have a legit chance at starting. So this offseason, he's watched them bring in 3 quarterbacks, 2 via the draft and Mitch Trubisky in free agency, and then add the guy that, again, during that whole Myles Garrett incident, is the second guy to come in to push Mason Rudolph over. So obviously had a little bit of an altercation there. I mean, this has not been an ideal offseason, to say the least, for Mason Rudolph. Following, when Ben departed, I'm sure he was thinking, okay, I might have a legit shot to be a starter here. The organization has kept me around this long. You got a little extension just, to make sure there was a quarterback in the room. And yeah, I mean, the way that things have played out have been very unfortunate if you're in the Mason Rudolph camp. So going back to, something that was brought up, I don't think that he's going to be on the roster. I think that, we're throwing a lot of shade right now, obviously, but I do think he's good enough to be a backup somewhere in the NFL. And I think that, a team that needs that, because unfortunately you're going to have injuries throughout training camp in the preseason. I think you'll see like a similar situation to like a Josh Dobbs thing, and the Steelers got a 5th round pick for him when they moved him to Jacksonville after Nick Foles broke his collarbone. So I think that there is some value there, and I think that you did a day 3 pick for Mason Rudolph, and I think that you'd be doing a disservice holding him here as like a 3rd quarterback, because he could go be a backup somewhere.
Imagine Ogunjobi's like this asterisk on signing with the Steelers is like, this guy's just got to go though. We can't have Mason Rudolph on the team.
Yeah, don't worry, that was in the plans anyway.
Yeah, it was like Omar Khan's like, I'm way ahead of you. Don't even worry about it. What, you watching the Pirate game?
I turned real quick to see. But yeah, so obviously not great for Mason Rudolph. Now, I want to ask you something else as it pertains to Steelers. Now, we've talked about a couple signings here, an extension and a signing. Chase Claypool, very confident, obviously, and you love to see that. He made an appearance on the I Am Athlete podcast hosted by Brandon Marshall, LaShawn McCoy, and Pac-Man Jones. And, he was talking about kind of the season. And honestly, like, this is like a 30-minute podcast. 30 minutes go by and I'm like waiting for it. Was literally like the very last topic that came up, where he starts talking about like his expectations for the year. And, he said when he's on the field, he does feel like, he's not a normal guy. He feels like an alpha compared to other guys. And he knows that he's a top 5 receiver, and then goes a step further and says he's a top 3 receiver in the NFL. And then he says he's going for 1,300 yards this year, 10 plus touchdowns, all these things. Now, this reminds me, going back, hey, circling back to Mason Rudolph, there was that conversation that we had on here, maybe last year, where Mason Rudolph said he wants to be the starting quarterback for the Steelers after Ben. And you have to have that confidence, right? That's what you want to have in a player. If you don't think that you can do that, you're already lost. You don't belong here. If Chase Claypool doesn't have high expectations for himself, that other people are probably like, he's never going to meet those, then he's probably doing himself a disservice. So I don't have a problem with these comments. I would have a bigger problem if you were like, oh, I'm probably somewhere like in that top 30 to 40 range in terms of wide receivers in the NFL. I don't necessarily think that he
sounds like a terrible statement.
He could have. Yeah, exactly. I don't think he worded like he should have said like I can be, but I don't have an issue with him saying that I am, because I love the self-confidence. Now, it's a new season, different quarterback, different offense. Go out and prove it if you're going to talk that way.
And I want you to change something about your game if you're going to talk that way. I don't want the first down celebrations like you had last year, like the excessive stuff that I'm talking about.
I'm really I really do think we're going to see a more mature version of him. Just like hearing him talk, everything that he said.
I really hope so, because I don't have a problem with him saying that, because one, you want your guys confident. If they don't think they're the best player on the field, then they probably shouldn't be playing. Two, every wide receiver has a little bit of diva in them, which I believe our friend Noah Strackbine alluded to on his show today. Every wide receiver has some diva in them, except for maybe Larry Fitzgerald. That's the only one that I can think of.
The wide receiver was on this podcast I'm talking about, Brandon Marshall. I mean,
exactly. So if you want to like kind of hype yourself up and think you're that guy, pal, that's fine. But I don't want the extra stuff to go with it. And I'm not talking about like the off-field stuff, like the TikTok and all that crap. I don't care about that. Mm-hmm. Do that in your time. It doesn't matter to me. I'm talking about on the field football stuff, the stuff that actually matters to me. I don't want the extra little stuff. I want you to just be the receiver and be very good. Don't give me those extra first down celebrations. Don't give me like, I mean, if you're going to talk like this, I need you to not fall down, by the way. I need you to stay on your feet when you're going go routes, because that's ridiculous. How many times you end up on your feet, Chase Claypool. I understand you're probably top heavy, but I still don't understand it. But yeah, I don't mind him saying it. It's just I kind of want to see how the season plays out to really know how I feel about him saying that. If he hasn't changed like maturity wise on the field, then that's a problem with me saying that as well. Like I want him to have a mentality that he's a good receiver, but I also don't want him to think that he doesn't have to change at all.
Yeah, I'm thinking, I mean, I know that people are going to go wild with those comments, but like, especially once the season starts, yeah, I'm expecting to see a lot of clips from this podcast, freezing cold takes, fans within the other teams of the division. There's going to be stuff that's thrown out there. But Chase even talked about stuff like that on there. Like he knows it's going to happen. It doesn't faze him, so.
There was another clip on that podcast where Shady McCoy said he sees no difference between Joe Burrow and Kenny Pickett.
Yeah, multiple times he said this actually.
Yeah, I mean,
listen,
thoughts
again. Words don't mean anything once you strap up the pads and step out onto the football field. For some reason, that's become like a popular comparison. Just like the late bloomer quarterback, small hands, obviously, but
not a ton of arm strength.
I don't really necessarily see the parallels all that much. But hey, I hope that Shady's right and I'm wrong.
Yeah, I mean, I
also don't think he's going to be the starting quarterback week 1. So
I don't either. I think it'll be Mitch, but I can see some like similarities between the two, at least like traits wise, like you were saying, like the small hands, late bloomer into at least in the draft world, late bloomer. Like I said, they don't really have a lot of arm strength or like top end arm strength. Neither of them do. I think they rely more on accuracy. So, I mean, I think it's
not great athletes.
Yeah. I think it's a stretch to say that Kenny Pickett and Joe Burrow are the same, at least right now, especially because out of college, you can really say what you want. But like Kenny Pickett hasn't played a game in the NFL, hasn't taken a snap. We'll have to wait and see. But I can at least see where Shady can come from making a claim like that as just like the persons themselves and playing that position. I can understand it a little bit, but we'll have to wait and see how Kenny performs.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, if I'm looking for parallels, it probably starts with like from a vocal leadership perspective. Just the way that they command things without even having to say much. Like Burrow's talked about it. He's not necessarily like a huge speech guy, but like he just has conversations with people and people get motivation from that. And I think, Pickett's kind of the same way. Like how many actual speeches have we actually seen Kenny Pickett give? But it's like he'll do like a post-game press conference and talk about going to drink some cold ones with the boys, and people just rally around that. It's just like an infectious presence. So yeah, I mean, if he turns out to be Joe Burrow, I think the Steelers are in good hands for a decade plus, and we won't be looking for another quarterback for a while. So that'd obviously be great.
I hope so. I love stuff like that. It gives us something to talk about. Give us more hot takes.
Yeah. Listen, we had Chase Claypool and Mike Tomlin go on podcasts within like 48 hours of each other. So that was great to see. And I hope that Pittsburgh Steelers and personalities and stuff continue to do stuff like that, because we can just keep talking about it on here.
Bro,
We can kind of just regurgitate the information.
You're getting caught up watching the game multiple times.
I thought Suwinski hit a ball and it was foul. So, but hey, listen, I can actually go and watch this game, because I think that about wraps us up, unless you got anything else. A little bit shorter of an episode today.
Not a lot to talk about. Yeah.
Not much to talk about, especially nothing in the Penguins world. But the Pirates getting more exciting. That's why I can't take my eyes off of it right now. And the Steelers obviously doing a few things. Really like the Ogunjobi signing. Obviously love that they got Minkah Fitzpatrick locked up.
Next week, episode that comes out on June 29th, I believe, we will be joined by Jesse Marshall from The Athletic to talk some Penguins hockey.
Will we?
We will.
Did he say yes?
He said yes. He said yes. Okay. Yeah.
I was going to say, you're breaking news to me as well as the people watching and listening to this.
It's confirmed. I just forgot to tell you.
All right, good. All right, cool. So, Jesse Marshall coming on. So that will, for people that didn't get their Penguins fixed this week, next week, it's pretty much going to be all Penguins, unless something big happens in the Pirates or Steelers world that we got to throw in there as well. But other than that, for Tyler, for Smitty, make sure that you guys, like Tyler asked for at the beginning, are subscribed and leave us a review wherever you guys are listening to this. Make sure it's on our main channel. Just search Around the 412. Make sure you subscribe to us. Leave us a like and comment on this YouTube video as well. Subscribe to the channel here. All that good stuff. For Tyler, for Smitty, this is Around the 412 on the DK Pittsburgh Sports Podcast Network. We'll talk to you guys next time. Bye-bye.